my mission today is to show you guys how epic this boat is, and also being able to calculate our coordinates based on whatever is in this box here. One of the best things about sailing up the Brazilian coast, beside the views of course, is the people we meet along the way. Sailors, fishermen, locals, there's always someone with a great story. This week we're visiting a neighbouring boat, not just because it's a cool boat, which it is, but because of who's on board. Lukas has already done some pretty wild sailing adventures, and we'll get into that later. But this time, he's going to teach me one crucial skill that every sailor should know. The same skill that once helped discover continents. I need to practice this. All hands on deck. I just jumped aboard Freya with Captain Lukas on board from Austria. You have been sailing for more than 3 years? 4 years now, you said?
4 years after boat, yeah.
4 years, and I couldn't help but notice this magnificent boat.
Freya, it's a Colin Polar 34.
Colin 34 catch,
yeah, with a
Gaff
rig. They are rebuilt in Germany in the 70s, yeah, 1977.
That's insane. We ended up meeting up on someone's boat, had a few beers, and I found out that he has crossed the Atlantic just using a sextant. And I said, look, we have this sextant on the boat, and who better to give us a couple of lessons than the man himself who crossed.
Hey, how are you? I'm Lukas, this is Freya. We come last year, or this year actually, this year in March over the Atlantic. I go with a really good friend. We just crossed with Sextant, with no GPS, with stick everything, and drawn our own map. Like this, from Cabo Verde down. This is Peter and Paul Rock, and here is Fernando de Noronha. After we have made the detail over the equator and then direct to Fernando. We found it. It was quite nice, good experience. But the good thing is when you go over the Atlantic, you only have to head east and then you will find some land. No worries.
You find India.
Yeah, you will find India.
Lukas lives on a Colin Archer, and if you've never heard of that name before, you're in for a treat. Colin Archer was a Norwegian designer from the late 1800s who built some of the toughest and most reliable boats in history. He designed the first self-righting and self-draining lifeboats for the Norwegian Rescue Society. These boats could face brutal North Sea storms, roll over and still come back up, ready to keep rescuing. Over time though, Archer's double-ended design became legendary, strong, graceful and built to handle anything the ocean throws at you. So when you see a Colin Archer today, it's not just a beautiful classic, it's a descendant of the boats that once braved the worst seas to bring sailors home safely. And Lukas's boat is one of those timeless beauties.
Chat table.
Wow,
Benches. We're sleeping and it's a little bit messy in the front there now, but a big bed in the front, toilet, and yeah, that's it. That's the chat table. It's the best place in the boat. The Sextant, you make all the calculations and all the things you do, everything here.
Nice. This is original?
It's also the one before that. It's not original, the one before that. Okay. To the inside and then dump it outside. Food and things. It was the charge from the Atlantic crossing. You see. And yeah, this was the last.
Could you see land here already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here it was in the night, it was good, it was new moon. I see the island shining.
Ah, yeah?
Yeah, 50 miles away. Put everywhere stickers on it. I sticked everything.
To hide the data.
To hide the data. Also on the here,
yes.
Yeah, it's also a GPS.
So no cheating.
And I sticked everything.
Lukas and his friend once crossed the Atlantic only using a sextant. No GPS, no electronics, just that classic clever tool. For those who haven't seen one up close, a sextant measures the angle between the horizon and a celestial body, usually the sun, but you can also do it the moon or the stars. And with some calculations, it can tell you exactly where you are on the globe. The sextant has been around since the 1700s and is so precise that with a good view of the horizon it can pinpoint your position to within a few hundred meters from 1,000 miles out at sea. Also, the word sextant comes from the Latin sextans, meaning 1/6 of a circle, which is exactly the arc the instrument can measure. And despite all the technology today, sailors still love the sextant. It's reliable, elegant, and kind of magical. Today Lukas is going to try and teach me this very same skill, how to locate our position using a sextant. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. So when I met Lukas for the first time and heard he was good, he's an expert at using sextants. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean.
I'm not the expert.
Just using sextant, and I said I have to learn this. So I brought our sextant with us, which has been out of the box once, and that was to show Lukas when he came to visit. And now I think with the small amount of sun we might have today, we might be able to figure out where it is. And my goal is to find our exact coordinates. Long story short, using a sextant comes down to a few key things. First, you need a measurement, the angle between the sun at its highest point in the sky and the horizon, called the midday position. This is actually the most common measurement sailors take because it's the easiest and most reliable to measure. Then, you need to know the exact time, and when it comes to sextant measurements, all sailors use GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, no matter where they are in the world. Lukas even had a clock and a simple Casio watch set to GMT for this exact purpose. It's very important to calibrate it before the journey and to cross-check it over the radio with passing vessels and ships. Finally, with that measurement and time, we use various information from the sextant readings, along with specific books that contain data for every single day of the year to triangulate our position and figure out exactly where we are on the globe. Lesson number 1.
Figure out the midday sun. 11:50.
And that's the midday.
That's the midday by the Greenwich Meridian. And you always use UTC on the boat. And now we can figure out when is our ship's midday. There is a relationship between angle and distance. Pythagoras. And you have, now we need this book again. You know, it's the movement from the sun from north to south. Now it's important where we are and where the sun is. Now we are south from the sun. It's like a ball, and the sun flies here.
Center as in this?
In the center of the Earth. We forget our thinking with the planets, we make it all in 2 dimensions.
Now you might be wondering what exactly we're doing on this table. Don't worry, we're not going to go deep into all the math or show every step of using a sextant. There are plenty of books and videos that do that far better than I ever could. Today, Lukas is just showing me the concept, so you can see how sailors once navigated thousands of miles across oceans using nothing but the sun, some very clever calculations, and a simple tool.
Now we make the calculation.
This is the first time I have ever tried or attempted to calculate the latitude with a sextant. I think he can agree that there is a lot of practice to do, but at least I have the basics and the steps to do so. And I don't know, I am very, very, very keen on doing this out, whether like doing what you do and put some tape on the actual coordinates and stuff. I don't know. Figure out. I think it's just something really cool about this. So thanks for. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Recently we met a friend called Per, and we came across this topic because, of course, Lukas crossed the Atlantic with a friend with a sextant, but that's not where we're going to stop. We have something that, in my opinion, is even more interesting. It's a lot more recent.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's so much more interesting in some ways, and you'll see why, than a sextant. And I'm not going to attempt explaining this because I'm going to make a mess of it and do it a lot of disgrace. So.
Yeah, this Per gave it to me, a nice Swedish-Australian guy. The last days he's even gone, and he gave me from Sven Irwin his amazing Bris mini sextant.
Imagine yourself inside a boat just over 5 meters long, surrounded by the roughest seas in the world, and you're crossing Cape Horn in the middle of winter. That is exactly what Sven Irwin did in his tiny Bris 2. Sven isn't just a sailor, he's an inventor, a boat builder, and a relentless thinker. He spent decades designing and building micro-ocean going boats, starting in his mother's basement and taking them across oceans that most sailors would never even dare to do in a yacht twice the size. His philosophy is that a small boat that is built right is stronger, simpler, and safer than a big boat weighed down by gadgets. Less really can be more. And of course, he invented the Bris Sextant, a tiny clever tool that proves you don't need complicated gear to navigate the seas.
That's everything. It's quite a nice handy tool. When you look like this at the sun, then you have, with the mirrors, you have reflections. When you look about the thing, it looks like this. You have here the horizon. Here you have the real sun. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reflections who come through the 3 pieces. You have 8 reflections, and every reflection have a specific angle. I just have to calibrate it. I have to go to a beach with the same height of the boat, more or less, and have to wait from the morning that every sun touch the horizon, and then I can calculate with my position and with the time the angle of the sun, and then I calibrate this small thing. Let's say now this is, I don't know, 80 degrees, 70, 60, 55, I don't know now. I have to calibrate it. And then you can navigate with this thing, just with this small tool. I think it's quite nice. I have to try it. Maybe I can continue with this one.
You're planning to go south now to
I'm planning to go south there.
And you think you're going to use this as your main navigation?
I will try. I don't know I can go on all the way with it, but I will try it. I will see.
Just like heading west, you'll find land. Just by heading south, you'll eventually find Antarctica, right?
Maybe. But I don't want to speak about it.
Now there is no excuse for me to get lost anymore out in the ocean. I hope MP's not going to depend on me too much, but Lukas, I promise I'm going to practice a lot.
See you guys.
And we'll catch up soon. And Lukas's plan is to head down now. I don't know how far south, but to the cold. Anyway, we're going to head off to the warm. Our paths might meet in the future. Thank you so much for everything, and beautiful boat, and thanks so much. The moment of truth. Can I use sextant to measure our coordinates? Now, the only problem I think we have here is that there is no sky, sea, horizon. There is hills where that's in the direction of the sun. I am going to get the sextant out and see what I can get from a chosen horizon by me. However, I have looked up already what the inclination or the degrees will be that you get from the sextant, so I can do the correct calculations and get the correct coordinates. When we're out at sea, I'd love to just keep testing this, testing to get more accurate. So whether we have a horizon or not, practice makes perfect. First thing I'm going to do is set this watch here to GMT, and this is going to be the sextant watch. We have calculated that the ship's midday is at 11:48 a.m. It is now 11:20. So I'm going to get out. He said to get out the sextant 20 minutes before, because we're practicing, and until 20 minutes after, so you can figure out where the rocking of the sextant is, well, where the sun is at its highest point to take the measurements. So with the watch nearby, sextant, it's not measuring. knowing that the ship's midday is in 10 minutes, I'm going to keep working with the sextant with a imaginary line horizon to figure out when it's going to reach its highest point, the sun. What I can see is the sun in the sextant is, when you rock the sextant, you can see the sun through all these mirrors and filters that it's touching the horizon. I want to keep adjusting this, probably higher and higher and higher. It's already on 71 until it stops, until I have to stop bringing these degrees up. When that's the case, I take the seconds, well, take the exact time, write that down, or memorize it and go in and do the rest of the calculations. I am taking the degrees every, let's say, 2 minutes until midday, or ship's midday. How to find ship's midday is just something that you can look up on the internet. How to calculate ship's midday, how to calculate what so on. It's just simply a test to see if I can navigate us through the open oceans using this, a watch and a book. Now, the hardest bit of working with a sextant is figuring out what midday is based on I think it's dead reckoning, and also the waves. There are normally waves and the boat's moving and so on, so you have to try and keep the sextant straight. In our case, it's very, very flat, except for the waves that the speedboats leaving the marinas are making. And also, what was very, very hot in my case, which I'm going to learn from now on, is the deck is really, really hot at midday, so maybe put some shoes on before heading out. The sun is 4.75. The trick is to have it calculated, because even though you think you might be good at calculating in your head, you don't want to make mistakes, because assuming you're good at calculations might put you off course with hundreds of miles. So calculator it is. We have 14 degrees, so 14 times 4, which is easy, 56. Double check. Right, okay, and then we have another 10 minutes, which is 10 times 4, which I don't need, is 40 seconds. So we have 2 hours, 56 minutes and 40 seconds west of 12001 to figure out what our ship's midday is. Okay, 13 minutes wrong, comparing it to the GPS, which means I'm 13 miles off my first ever alone sextant measurement. Now, of course, we've got those little variables where I couldn't get a full horizon, so I cheated a bit, but I am very, very happy with this, because 13 miles off might not be ideal when you're trying to hold a course for a very long time. That's why we're practicing right now. So I want to thank Lukas so much for helping me with this, and this is not something I'm going to give up very soon. I'm going to start playing around more and more and more, hopefully having better horizons to take the measurements off, and just practice. Practice, 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 practice. The funny thing is, seeing Freya next to us with Lukas aboard wasn't completely random. The boat stood out loads, as lots of you might know from the previous episodes that we are planning to turn our sail rigging into gaff rigging as well. Seeing an old, reliable, sturdy gaff rig boat like that really caught our eye, and we just had to go aboard, have a chat with him. Of course, we got on really well, so it wasn't just the boat. We got really well with Lukas, but it was really a good insight into getting this gaff rigging sorted. Got to talk a lot about materials, pulleys, pros and cons, how to make it easier for two people on board. Of course, he's a solo sailor now, so That was really cool. And I also just wanted to give you guys a little update on how this gaff rigging is going. Now, I am quite spontaneous when it comes to these type of things. I get excited too soon. So I want to get these measurements of the sails over and want to buy the wood and just start planing, cutting, gluing it all together. I've already bought all the clamps, for example, to get it all done. I've bought all the epoxies. I am a very strong believer in nothing has to be perfect from the beginning. Anything can be altered and adjusted along the way and so on. But putting up this gaff is a lot more than making a boom, making a gaff, and adding the sails and going off for a sail. So I am keeping it quite safe. The plan is to go to the wood shop tomorrow and start already buying the planks, which is going to be a super exciting thing because then we can start cutting, planing, gluing, and actually start shaping. So that's all going to come together very, very soon. The thing is, I'm going to keep it quite safe. I don't want to just chuck on any type of gaff, any type of boom, any type of rigging. I'm talking with loads and loads and loads of people. A million of sketches have been made. So the plan is, I think tomorrow I'm going to go to the wood shop, buy all the wood, then bring it on board, try some fitting. I don't know, there's so much to be done, but I want to do it correctly. One of the latest ideas we got is to laminate the boom, which was always my plan, but instead of laminating pieces of wood together, for example, put sheets of fiberglass in between for some mechanical strengthening and stuff. Also, I'm looking at lots of boats with some runners, some running backstays, looking at how that system's going to be. Is it going to be stainless? Is it going to be rope? Or is it going to be Dyneema? Whatever. So just to let you know what we're up to with this gaff rigging, I'm very, very close to getting started. I honestly cannot wait myself. But just being on a boat like Freya is just a little bit of a pick-me-up and more incentive and motivation to get things done really, really nicely and properly. We really hope you enjoyed this type of video. It was a little bit different than what we usually post, but I just thought it was a really cool thing to hop on board and learn some celestial navigation, and hopefully I'll be working with it a lot soon, just practicing at least. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do that. Stay up to date with everything we're going to be doing soon, which is going to be pretty cool. And if you enjoyed this video, just give the like button a click. We'll really appreciate it. And thanks again, and see you guys next Sunday.